Welcome to Blodgett's BCX 14G Original Manual Control Training. This unit has a two-page wiring diagram, and we're viewing page 1. Now we're viewing page 2. Let us begin in the off mode and look at the incoming power as well as terminal block 1. Turn the selector switch to the off position. Power is supplied to the unit by the plug. It should be inserted into a 20 amp outlet that is installed according to local code. The cord and plug feed 115 volts AC to terminal block 1. The brown line represents 115 volts AC hot and the blue represents common. Terminal block 1 is referred to on the diagram as TB1. As we proceed, each component on the diagram will be reviewed as we see here. Note the location of terminal block 1 within the left-hand side of the unit. We will now review circuit breaker 1. The terminal block feeds 115 volts to the circuit breaker. Which is rated for 20 amps. The circuit breaker is located in the lower left-hand corner of the front of the control panel. CB1 must be turned on for the unit to operate. The diagram also refers to a second terminal block as TB1, so we will refer to it as TB1B for clarity. Terminal block 1B distributes the power of the circuit breaker within the unit. It is the same part number as TB1. It is located on the back of the control panel above CB1. The heat cutoff switch is to the right of the circuit breaker on the control panel. It interrupts the power to transformers 1 and 2. On the diagram, it is referred to as SW6. Looking at the rear of the control panel, the heat cutoff switch is on the bottom on the left. It must be on for the hot air or boiler heat functions. The hot air transformer is labeled as T1 on the diagram. It is fed 115 volts AC by the heat cutoff switch. When T1 is powered, it creates the 24 volt AC supply for the hot air circuit. It is located to the left of the DC power supply. It sends a low signal to the hot air ignition modules and 24 volts AC to J4 at the relay board. The boiler transformer is labeled T2 on the schematic. It is also a 120 to 24 volt AC transformer. Both transformers can be tested with a meter set to read ohms. T2 is located below T1. Transformer 2 sends a low signal to the boiler ignition module and 24 volts to J6 at the relay board. The 24-volt DC power supply is the main control voltage source. It is fed by TB1B. The power supply is very resilient and can be reset to aid in finding short circuits within the DC circuit. It is located to the left of the inverter drive. It supplies several locations. We will first look at the flush disable thermostat it supplies with 24 volts DC low or negative 24 volts DC. Next, the power supply sends 24 volts to the relay board's terminal J7. And finally, it supplies several other locations on page 1 of the diagram. While looking at page 1, we see 24 volts enter and feed the mode switch, the steam on demand button, indicator lights, the logic board, the temp controller, as well as the cavity light, vent, and fan speed switches. The relay board is labeled IFB on the diagram, short for interface board. Earlier we showed the 24 volt DC supply to J7. This is the power supply to operate the relay board. The relay board is mounted to the left of the high limits. Once 24 volts DC is present, it is sent to the location shown here. At this point, all the outputs are only one leg of the needed power to all but two devices. The door switch is powered at all times, the relay board is powered, and the drain is always powered on either the open or closed leg outputs from J8, depending on the status of the D101 LED on the relay board. The cooling fan thermostat is labeled SW15 and the cooling fan is labeled MTR2 on the diagram. SW15 is fed 24 volts DC low by the relay board. It closes at 122 degrees Fahrenheit to activate the cooling fan. The cooling fan thermostat is located to the right of the inverter drive. Here, the switch is closed and it sends negative 24 volts DC to the relay board at J3.8 or junction 3, pin 8. The relay board has red LEDs that light when an input triggers an output. Using this relay board key, we will understand what inputs are associated with each LED and each output. The cooling fan thermostat input is J1 pin 8, which triggers D41 LED, and the 24 volt DC output from J5 pin 6. On this screen, we see how the relay board inputs and outputs affect the diagram. The input, the LED, and the output to the cooling fan. The cooling fan draws cool air in to cool the control components. It is located at the bottom right-hand corner at the rear of the unit. Cool air is drawn in and channeled down the air chase where it enters the cavity below the gas valves. It rises and absorbs heat from the cavity. The hot air now exits through the vent in the left side panel. The vent switch is labeled